friends, and welcome back to Where the Macabre Things Are. I'm Molly Macabre. I'm a horror writer. I am the co-founder of the Dark Veil Society. I am a supporter of indie authors and a book reviewer. My book Dark Bloom is on Amazon. You can check it out. All the links are in my bio. Today, we are going to be talking about Red Rising. For some context, if you asked me about 2 years ago what I like to read, I would tell you horror and thrillers. I never really dabbled in fantasy or sci-fi, but then I became a self-published author. And sometimes I come across authors who I really like and become friends with, and they don't necessarily always write horror. So I started picking up some books outside my genre. Red Rising is my second sci-fi book. I'm an Audible subscriber. I get 1 credit a month. I get through audiobooks really quickly. So typically for the rest of the month, I will listen to music or check out some podcasts. I did not know that I knew Audible had free books to listen to, but I just never felt like anything would be up my alley. Except I got really desperate one day and found that Red Rising was free to listen to. So I see this book everywhere. Everybody talks about it. It is so popular, but it just was never anything that I prioritized because I just figured it would not be my thing. So let's talk about that. Okay. I started Red Rising when I was working out one night. I just wanted something to listen to. Music really wasn't my jam at that moment. So I turned on Red Rising and I listened to like the first 30 minutes of it. And I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. Let me tell you, this book was everything. Okay, so what is Red Rising about? A lot of you probably know, but we're going to go over it anyway. The main character is Darrow, which, by the way, for 4 hours into my audiobook, I thought his name was Daryl. That's a fine name, but there's a lot of other, very sci-fi or sort of like Greek names in this. So Daryl was just kind of really the outlier. It wasn't until I was looking at the cover and it was talking about how, you had Katniss from Hunger Games, now Darrow from Red Rising, and I was like, oh, Darrow, that makes a lot more sense. Darrow is a man who lives in a caste-based system. The caste-based system is color-coded, and he is a red, which they call them hell divers. They mine holes in Mars. They are pretty low in this caste system. He is married to his wonderful wife. I don't know if they say how old Darrow is. They talk about how Darrow and Io were married pretty young, like 16, I think. So I imagine he's maybe 18, 19, 20. He's pretty young in this. He isn't necessarily content with the elitism of the world, but he's not about to start doing anything about it. He's like, I have my family, I have my life, I do my job. Life is okay. I'm content. Io, on the other hand, she wants more. She strives for more. She doesn't want her children or their children growing up in a world where other people are just so much better than them for no reason at all other than they are born in a different caste. Darrow suffers a great loss, and he's just kind of reeling from this, and he ends up having to infiltrate this gold caste system. On the top tier of this caste system are the golds. Pretty apt. And when Darrow suffers a really great loss, he ends up having to infiltrate this group of golds. I mean, Darrow's just a really, really deep, well thought out character. Because he starts out as simply content with what he's doing, what he has, he isn't just like gung-ho to run in and change everything up. but he keeps reminding himself of why he's motivated, why he has to do this, why he's going to make a difference. And he ends up believing it himself. He just continues to remind himself of why he is doing what he's doing. So Red Rising is compared to The Hunger Games in a way. And by the way, I read The Hunger Games. Of course, it was like 10 years ago, probably more than that. But I loved The Hunger Games. I loved everything about it. This is similar in many ways, because once he infiltrates this gold system, he has to compete in the Institute, which is basically where a bunch of rising, see what I did there? A bunch of basically elite golds to be compete in games. There are proctors that watch your every move. There are sponsors who can send gifts. So it is very similar to Hunger Games. If the Hunger Games were in space, and a lot more brutal, and I don't want to say a lot more deep, because the Hunger Games, it has a lot of depth to it. But this is definitely on a whole other tier. This is adults. I mean, young adults, but adults. Just these games bring out the worst in them. I don't even like to call them games. They're like trials, essentially. I mean, there are houses of these golds literally going to war with each other. There are war tactics involved. By the way, this was really fun to listen to right after The Art of War, because I was able to compare so many tactics either being used or attempting to be used, and that failing. So when we started getting into that part where he was interacting with these golds and competing against them, I just assumed that they were going to be a bunch of people I was going to hate. And while there are many characters that are really hateable, there are so many characters that you just fall for. And even though, like, you understand where they're coming from this snobby society where they think they're the best, but they still have these deep backstories and emotions, and they are strong and they are fierce. And it was, I just really loved it. Darrow is probably my favorite character, obviously, because this is told in first person, so you're getting everything from the eyes of Darrow. But I really enjoyed Severo as a character. He was very different than what I was expecting from some of these golds, and he helped Darrow so much, and he was just an incredible character. So one thing I liked about this book, among all of the other 15 million things that I liked about this book, almost every time Darrow starts a plan, he's like, okay, I'm going to start this and do this. And, just as a simple-minded reader, I'm like, yeah, he's going to do this and it's going to be accomplished, and that's how he's going to get ahead. And I would say 9 times out of 10, Darrow's plan is either completely foiled or changes drastically because of the circumstances. The best part about watching Darrow compete in these games, these trials, is that while everyone is competing with all of their strength, they're doing it for the glory of their house. They're doing it to honor their family. They're doing it to become the best of the best. Darrow's intentions the whole time. So of course you're rooting him on, but that he's fighting for something even greater than what they are fighting for. He wants to essentially destroy the system. He wants to bring it down. He wants to conquer it so that he can enact change in the galaxy. But I think Darrow realizes what I did along the way. I think he also thought he was going to go in being just a solitary competitor in this event. But what he found was that not everyone is as bad as they seem. Not everyone is exactly what he thought they were going to be. And he actually ends up making friends along the way. And it's so deep and it's very cool because, like I said, you get to really fall in love with a lot of the characters. I believe he went into this thinking that he was by himself, completely alone, and what ends up happening is these other people that he considers his enemy, they end up helping him. They end up befriending him. They end up trusting and following him. Amazing characters, fast-paced action, deep emotional themes. This book was 5 out of 5 or 10 out of 10, however you do your ratings. I loved it. I wanted to record this now because next month I'm starting Golden Sun. Yes, I know you all love Golden Sun much better, but I wanted to get my thoughts on Red Rising down before I started it because I assume I'm going to love Golden Sun even more. So let me know down in the comments. Did you love Red Rising? Did you hate it? Did you like Golden Sun more? Did I nail all the important points of this book, or would you have added something different? If you enjoyed, like and subscribe. Hail Reaper, and stay macabre.